Welcome. It's episode 141 of Grow Yourself Up. Welcome back. We're back after the summer break. And today I want to talk about chronic stress, continuing to heal from chronic stress, and how some of our nervous system patterning may actually hamper us in this. And I want to share a bit of what's going on for me around this. So I did an episode last year about chronic stress and how I realized that I was kind of really chronically stressed and quite burnt out, and what I was doing about that. And I want to give you a bit of an update because I think that a lot of people are in the same position, and also share some of the things that have been working for me and how I've had to really put down some of my urgency around things. So one of the patterns that many of us have from childhood is a pattern of urgency, of we need to get everything done now, and constantly existing in fight and flight. And when I kind of first realized how kind of chronically stressed I was and how some of the motherhood things that I'd faced had kind of exacerbated that, I went into kind of trying to heal chronic stress in the same way that I approach a lot of things, which was like going really hard at it and really like fast. And unfortunately, that doesn't actually work really very well, because it's actually part of the issue in terms of keeping us chronically stressed. So if you can think about it from a nervous system point of view, when we have been habituated to living in chronic stress, we are more often than not in fight or flight quite a lot of the time, and we are in the sympathetic state in our nervous system, or we go rapidly between shutdown and sympathetic, and we don't have that much time in ventral vagal. We may operate quite a lot outside of our window of tolerance because we didn't get a wide and roomy window of tolerance because of the lack of co-regulation we received in childhood. So in my case, I had actually done a lot of, my nervous system had really settled down a lot prior to having children. I was in a kind of a calmer place, meeting a partner who I really loved. My body relaxed on kind of a cellular level. Being in loving, connected relationship, feeling really safe. And in motherhood, that has been undone a bit for me because of the stress that I feel from mothering and trying to get things right, and from dealing with the complexity that we've had in our parenting journey. So let me tell you a few of the things that I've really had to kind of work on. So I've had to really consciously let go of urgency and be with myself right now where I am. In some sense, I'm just surrendering to all the things that are going on without trying to fix everything all at the same time. I have tried to do that, believe me, I've tried to fix everything all at the same time. But what it landed up doing is keeping me in a really stressed state. So I'll give you like a small example. I've got an autoimmune condition. Probably actually got more than one autoimmune condition, but I've got Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune underactive thyroid. And in the UK, for Hashimoto's, the NHS typically gives you something called thyroxine, which is the T4 thyroid hormone. And that assumes that your body can do the work of converting this T4 hormone into T3, which is the active form of thyroid hormone that you need. So you want your body to be able to convert T4 to T3. Now, I know that because I've got really exhausted adrenals, because my HPA axis, so my hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenal axis, which kind of makes like a triangle in your body because it goes from your brain, your neck, to your adrenals, which are just above your kidneys on either side of your back body. Well, sorry, either side of, like on the sides of your body, on your back body, just above your waist. And those adrenal glands, I know, are exhausted because of the chronic stress I've been under all my life. So my conversion of the thyroid hormone, the synthetic thyroid hormone, from T4 to T3, I know doesn't work. And when I was trying to get pregnant, because Hashimoto's can mean that you have a lot of miscarriages, and I did indeed have a miscarriage before I fell pregnant with our twins, I took myself off the thyroxine, and I started to take something called Armour, which I ordered myself, which is um, a thyroid hormone from its bovine source. And that has got all the hormones. So it's got T3 and T4, so your body doesn't have to work as hard because you're getting it directly. And then, because of cost and because I wanted to kind of not be doing everything myself, I went back to the doctor and I was taking the thyroid hormone, but it wasn't making me feel any better. And I know that my body can't convert it because I'm still healing my adrenals. And then I found out something else, that because I don't have enough potassium, so I had various tests. We've done some hair and mineral analysis and some other kind of tests. Because I didn't have enough potassium and my minerals are all over the place and out of balance, the thyroid hormone can't get into my cells anyway. So in that situation, and there's lots and lots of different versions of that throughout my system in terms of the kind of things we're trying to deal with. So it's kind of complex, long-term, chronic things that don't just get resolved like easily, basically. And so I can't fix all of that at the same time. Like I can't, it's kind of impossible. There's a lot of things that play into each other. The more I kind of investigate all of this, the more I see how many things are linked. And I was like completely stressing myself out with all of this because I would get these like test results and I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? Let me buy all of these hundreds of supplements, or let me start doing this, or let me start doing that, or and it got too much. And it was kind of really overwhelming. And I had to really just surrender and just be with what's going on in my body at the moment and really love profoundly on my body and work on a lot of nervous system regulation stuff at like an absolute base. Because when we've been, like my whole system essentially sits on top of a deranged nervous system, a nervous system that has had way too much stress and way too much pressure its whole life. And now it just needs to kind of down-regulate. Like I could spend all my time just down-regulating, and that would be very good for my body. But, I have to live my life. I have to work and I have to parent. So it's a complex thing to manage all the time. So I've really landed in a place of profoundly surrendering and doing what I can in the most gentle way that I can do it, and trying to honor and love my body. So I do that in like a myriad of ways. I massage my tummy with a womb balm. So a lovely womb balm from a place called Rushmead Farm. Cath, who is the proprietor of Rushmead Farm, has actually been on the podcast. I'll put that detail on the web in the show notes. So I massage my tummy in a loving way. I massage my body with a lovely oil. I have a wonderful heat pad which I sit on, which is got like jade and something else, and it's a far infrared heat pad, and that feels very healing and soothing. I use my hot water bottle a lot to put on my adrenals. I'm as gentle as I can be with myself. I talk much more kindly to myself. So I'm honoring my body, even though things are not quite working how they should. It's so important to talk kindly to ourselves, because I think that many of us, when we start to realize what's going on in our bodies, we can feel let down or really start to blame our bodies. And really, my body has worked so hard to keep me on the planet. It's worked so hard to tend to my children. It's worked so hard in my family of origin, to just try and do the best I could to keep our family afloat. And so it's time for such gentleness, and to just kind of, with the thyroid, I'm working on the mineral balancing. I'm doing all the things that I can. And some days I just can't do the things. I can take some of the supplements, but I can't make all the things that I might need to make. I just have to do what I can. And there's such a profound, humble, like humility, I guess is the word. And just humility and surrender are things that have really helped me, because I can't fix all of the things at the same time. In fact, I might not be able to fix much of it. And just trying to really honor where I am and being able to take really loving steps. So I'll tell you, there's some things that I've changed, that I've become more willing to look at, which I will share about. But I've been doing a lot of, so from a nervous system point of view, I've been doing a lot of somatic experiencing sessions, and freeze comes up a lot for me because in childhood, many situations that I would have wanted to just freeze in, I wasn't able to because I had to take action. But there's a lot of freeze in my system that needs to kind of be metabolized. I'm finding that speaking the truth about things and working on having my external reality match my internal reality is really, really helpful. Now, that's something that I've been doing for a long time, but really consciously, making sure my emotional flow in my system is good, matching up what I say externally with what's going on internally. We're now going into winter, and so this is going to be released on the 16th of September, and we're going into autumn and winter, and I'm really going to focus very lovingly and gently on myself in these seasons, not to push myself, not to try and socialize too much, not to have unrealistic expectations. I have lived my whole life trying to over-deliver, and I'm trying to come to a place of peace with operating at a more human pace. Now, to be honest, I do find that quite hard. I mean, there really are losses that go along with moving out of survival mode. One of those losses I find is that I can manage less now. I don't set myself up to try and do as much, but I manage less and I feel less efficient. And I'm kind of in a mode shifting position. I look back to what I did like before I had children. I used to wake up really early, commute for an hour, then go to the gym before work and go to these, I was working still in financial services and training to be a psychotherapist. And then I worked 4 days a week in financial services and worked a day as a therapist. Those were all really intense years getting that all done. So I like unwinding from that pattern of really being so efficient and hyper productive. It just really feels uncomfortable sometimes. And I think that it has to come, from a top-down approach. So from a decision in my mind, I've made a decision that I want to unwind that pattern of chronic stress. I don't want to continue being so hyper-productive. It's not healthy for me. And I also need nervous system support for that to actually feel safe enough in my own system. And sometimes it feels really uncomfortable to rest. Sometimes I feel frustrated and annoyed. And I've done specific nervous system work to help me in supporting that. And the reality is as well, and I think that you may identify with this, right now, I live inside the most stressful situation of my life. So for me, mothering is very stressful. I experience it as a stressful situation. I have children who have kind of non-standard needs, possibly complex things that need to be sorted out. And so that also stresses me out because I can't fix all of that at the same time. And there's lots of different things that we've had to do. And I'm not going to share too much about that because I want to protect my children's privacy, but we have not had a standard route. And I have turned all my research firepower onto trying to help my kids and optimize in all situations. But there I have also had to surrender that I have to work at a human pace and to really love and be present with what we have, because I have wonderful children. I have got joyful, enthusiastic, wonderful children. They don't fit a standard mold. And so there's been a lot of kind of customizing things along the way. And while I'm very good at that, that's also tiring and exhausting. And so I've had to really just, allow myself to not do everything all of the time, basically. And that's a body adjustment, and it's a mental adjustment as well. I talked last year when I talked about chronic stress, I talked about my shoulder and how I had reduced mobility kind of in my right arm, and in being able to cross my arm across my body, and I felt that there was like tight muscles in my arm, and I've been continuing to resolve that, because that's not, it's nothing muscular. So it's nothing from a bone perspective. There's nothing that would show up on an x-ray, but it's connected to chronic bracing and chronic stress patterns in my body. And really unwinding that sort of stuff it's not like a quick hop, skip, and a jump. It can take years to unwind those type of patterns. And I'm continuing to work on that. It is much, much better now. But it takes time, and it's I'm like relearning a new language about how to relate to my body. There are many, many impacts of chronic stress in terms of, the bracing that happens means that many of our, many things might be tight and contracted purely because we have braced. For many of us who've survived childhood trauma or chronic stress or childhood wounding, situations that were inescapable for us, we have learned to shallow breathe. Shallow breathing is an extremely effective way to reduce feeling. So if you're a small child and things are overwhelming and you kind of can't make sense of what's going on with you, shallow breathing reduces the impact of what's going on around you on you. Physiologically, it's a brilliant strategy. In the same way that dissociation is also a brilliant strategy. These were resources at the time that they were developed. They're just not that helpful in the present moment. Certainly for me, it's not helpful to shallow breathe now, because that has pinched my first rib, and it's caused impact on how my shoulder sits and how I can move now. So it's really, the journey away from chronic stress and the journey to reparenting ourselves, the ongoing journey of reparenting, is lovingly being with ourselves where we are, not being frustrated with ourselves, not being critical. We may feel frustrated. I feel frustrated that I can't just shift this all in one go, but it's taken, I'm 49, I'll be 50 at my next birthday, and I've been living with a lot of these patterns my whole life. And so there has to be such gentleness and the unwinding of them. I always consider that any moment during my day when I can lie down on the sofa or just rest down my body a tiny bit, sit down, put my hot water bottle on me somewhere, like even if it's on my neck or my shoulder or on one of my adrenals, have a warm cup of tea, have something lovely, have moments in my day. Anytime I can do that, that is deepening that neural pathway of a bit more rest. It's deepening that neural pathway away from chronic stress, away from existing in fight and flight. Because when we're working on repatterning our nervous system, we need to do things little and often to deepen those grooves. You can imagine when you think about rainwater running down a mountain, if you, like me, have existed a lot in your stress responses and in your survival states, those like rivers and gullies which have run down the mountain with the rainwater in are deep grooves, like they're massive giant rivers going down this mountain. So when we're starting to create new neural pathways and deepen those neural pathways of more, repatterning our nervous system to be more flexible, so we're not stuck in that deep gully or that deep river of fight and flight. We have to practice that. We have to notice, okay, now I'm just going to take a few minutes and I'm just going to lie down, or I'm going to put my feet up. I'm going to drink my cup of tea. I'm actually going to honor myself, have it when it's hot, and take that time for myself. And I've made a lot of cognitive decisions in that way to facilitate that. I have also continued to do transforming touch, which is Stephen Terrell's body of work. So I received that as a client. I find that really helpful. I've continued to go for craniosacral therapy. I haven't done acupuncture much, but I'm going to do some acupuncture. recently, one of the things we've also been facing is mold toxicity, and having kind of chronic mold toxicity in my system. And it's when you start to learn about all these kind of chronic health conditions that often come along with complex trauma and all the things that can kind of happen in our bodies. It's can be like very overwhelming, because there's not a lot of allopathic medical advice that talks to this. A lot of doctors might kind of dismiss some of these things. And so you kind of have to go to like a lot of alternative health practitioners and do a lot of your own research. And it can be, there's a part of me who wants to optimize every bit of research I do and then get all of the things that I need to do all at the same time. And that contributes to that pattern of more burnout, more overwhelm, more stress. And so I've had to kind of take a really kind of a slow approach and honor the limits of my own humanness, that I'm not a machine, and that I'm trying to do some of these things for both my daughters and I. And I've recently been going to someone who does deep tissue massage, trigger point massage, myofascial release, and lymphatic drainage. And that's been really helpful in terms of my lymph system was kind of completely blocked up, because chronic stress really, it acts like it slows everything down a lot in our systems. That bracing has so many impacts on so many different things, like the flow of lymph, how our fascia are our fascia tightly held, and this needs physical work on the body to help a lot of it. So, yeah, it's kind of I spend most of the money that I earn myself on these type of things, on kind of like a healing journey. I feel privileged that I can do it, and I feel really grateful that I have the capacity to find that, and I feel really grateful that I live in a place where people can help me, and I've really had to look at some of my own patterns and how my own patterns are not helpful. So one of the things I struggle with is going to bed early. I have struggled for that for a long time. And I believe that is related to cortisol patterns that are very out of sync with how they should be. And I've become prepared or willing, let's say willing, recently to really prioritize early bed, to prioritize reading in bed, to really do what is necessary to facilitate that. I'm not a morning person, but I've become willing recently to wake up and to go for a walk when the sun first rises, not like at dawn or anything like that, but like before my husband goes to work, and to let the light go into my eyes and to kind of hope that will reset my circadian rhythm. I've become willing to do meditation every day. So I always considered walking to be my meditation, and I've recently added in guided meditation. If you've got developmental trauma and childhood trauma, I think guided meditation can be much more loving and holding than silent meditation. I think silent meditation can be extremely hard and possibly even a bit punishing. So if you've also got developmental trauma, try some guided meditations. You can find them there's lots of lovely ones on Insight Timer. And that's been really nourishing. I've really used that as a way to lovingly be present for myself, to take a few moments just to lie down, lying down and doing guided meditation, or going for a walk and doing guided meditation can be really loving. Yeah, I think that we only are ready to do things in our healing journey when we are ready. We can try and force things ahead of time, but I have become more willing as I've become more regulated. I've become much more willing to do things, to really look honestly at things, to notice how I can't do everything at the same time, and to just be deeply loving. Because Stephen Terrell always teaches that with developmental trauma and with childhood trauma, the biggest wound, the greatest rupture is ultimately the rupture with ourselves. And so if we think about secure attachment, we are really wanting to repair the attachment with ourselves and all our parts. And so lovingly tending to ourselves, um, like rubbing lovely oils or lovely balms into our body, feeding ourselves the nicest, healthiest things we can, lovely warm drinks, tending to ourselves in all the ways is so important. We really have to learn, we really have to kind of teach ourselves that we matter. And many of us have to go, like, I've learned this in my own therapy. I've learned how to tend to myself from one of my therapists. I got insecure attachment in one of my therapist relationships. And so, yeah, I think that process of reparenting ourselves, being gently present with all that is there, being the adult, so going for the tests that we might need, taking the supplements we might need, having the treatments we might need, or taking medication we might need, or whatever it is that's going to help. And kind of being mindful that we can't do all of it at the same time. I come to you today, I guess, with a message of gentleness and tenderness so that you can be gentle and tender to yourself and be really like embracing your own humanity, because for so many of us, we have been shamed and punished for our own humanity. And so we expect ourselves to operate at that superhuman level. I was a superhuman child. You may also have been a superhuman child. And trying to be a superhuman adult has not helped me. And I really want to invite you into being just a human operator. You don't have to be a super operator, to be loving yourself as a human operator. And I'm so excited to talk more about like so many things. There's wonderful episodes coming with like amazing trauma like pioneers. And I'm going to talk about insecure attachment and more about codependence and all our stress responses. And so I'm just really excited to be back with you. I love this community and I'm so grateful that you're listening. And I wonder how your journey with chronic stress is going. Yeah, so mine it's ongoing. And I'm grateful to be in, I'm grateful to be here in this body at this time. And I'm just sending you all so much love.